Today's topic is Alexander the Great. In the ancient world, power rose and fell like the tide. Cities burned, kings vanished into dust, and empires lived only as long as the men who ruled them. Yet one name shattered the limits of history itself, a name whispered with awe, fear, and disbelief across continents. Alexander of Macedon. Before he was 33 years old, he conquered most of the known world. He never lost a battle. He broke empires older than memory. And when he died, his dream died with him, leaving behind chaos, legend, and a question that still haunts historians today. Was Alexander the Great a hero, or a force of unstoppable destruction? Alexander was born in 356 BCE in the Kingdom of Macedon, a land many Greeks considered rough, uncultured, and barely civilized. But his blood carried destiny. His father, King Philip II, was a military genius who transformed Macedon into a disciplined war machine. His mother, Olympias, was fierce, mystical, and deeply religious. Rumored to believe Alexander was descended from Zeus himself, from an early age, Alexander was told he was meant for greatness. At 13, his education was entrusted to Aristotle, the greatest philosopher of the age. Alexander studied philosophy, medicine, literature, and science. He carried Homer's Iliad everywhere, sleeping with it under his pillow, believing himself the next Achilles. But brilliance alone would not define him. Alexander was restless, intense, burning with ambition. And at just 16 years old, while his father was away at war, Alexander crushed a rebellion and founded his first city, Alexandropolis, naming it after himself. The pattern had begun. In 336 BCE, Philip II was assassinated during a public celebration. The murder stunned the kingdom. Conspiracies spread like wildfire. Enemies circled. Alexander was only 20 years old. Many believed the Macedonian throne would collapse. Instead, Alexander struck first. He executed rivals, silenced opposition, and marched south into Greece. When the city of Thebes rebelled, Alexander responded with terrifying precision. The city was destroyed. Tens of thousands were killed or enslaved. Only temples and the house of the poet Pindar was spared. The message was clear. Alexander was king, and resistance meant annihilation. Across the Aegean Sea lay the greatest empire on earth, Persia. It had crushed nations for centuries. Its kings ruled from palaces of gold, and no Greek army had ever truly defeated it. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed into Asia with just 40,000 men. He was invading the impossible. At the Battle of the Granicus River, Alexander personally led a cavalry charge across rushing waters into Persian forces. He nearly died, saved only by a companion who struck down a Persian noble about to kill him. It was reckless, it was brilliant, and it was the beginning of something unstoppable. City after city fell. Asia Minor cracked open before him, but the Persian king himself now moved to confront him. In 333 BCE, Alexander faced Darius III, ruler of the Persian Empire. At the Battle of Issus, Darius commanded an army several times larger than Alexander's. He had wealth, numbers, and tradition. Alexander had speed, discipline, and audacity. The battle was chaos, steel clashing, horses screaming, men dying in rivers of blood. Alexander charged directly at Darius's position, cutting through elite guards. Then something unthinkable happened. Darius fled. The Persian king abandoned his army and his own family, who were captured unharmed by Alexander. From that moment on, the myth grew. Alexander could not be stopped. The island city of Tyre believed itself untouchable. Surrounded by the sea and protected by massive walls, it refused Alexander entry. Alexander did not move on. Instead, he ordered something insane. He built a causeway through the ocean, stone by stone, while under constant enemy attack. For 7 brutal months, Tyre resisted. Then Alexander broke through. The city was taken. Thousands were slaughtered. Survivors were enslaved. It was one of the most ruthless acts of his career, and it proved a chilling truth. Alexander would never forgive defiance. In 332 BCE, Alexander entered Egypt, not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. The Egyptians welcomed him as a savior from Persian rule. He founded Alexandria, a city destined to become one of the greatest centers of knowledge in history. Then Alexander traveled into the desert to consult the oracle of Siwa. What was said there remains a mystery, but when Alexander emerged, he believed something had changed. He began to see himself as more than mortal, a son of Zeus. In 331 BCE, Alexander met Darius one final time at Gaugamela. The Persians had war elephants, scythe chariots, an army of overwhelming size. Alexander had strategy. As battle erupted, he created a gap in the Persian lines, then drove straight through it, aiming once again for Darius himself. The Persian army collapsed. Darius fled. The Persian Empire, one of the greatest in human history, was finished. Alexander entered Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, seizing unimaginable treasure. At Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of Persia, the city was burned. Whether in revenge or drunken impulse remains debated. The East now belonged to Alexander. Victory did not bring peace. Alexander pushed eastward into modern Afghanistan and Central Asia, fighting guerrilla wars against enemies who refused open battle. His army grew exhausted. Morale fractured. Alexander grew harsher. Friends were executed for dissent. Paranoia crept in. He demanded worship as a god. He adopted Persian customs, alienating his Macedonian officers. At a drunken feast, Alexander killed his closest friend, Clytus, in a rage. When the realization hit him, he collapsed in grief. The conqueror of the world could not conquer himself. In 326 BCE, Alexander entered India and faced King Porus at the Battle of the Hydaspes River. Porus fought with war elephants, terrifying beasts that trampled men into the earth. Alexander won, but at enormous cost. When he demanded his army march further east, the soldiers refused. They had reached the end. For the first time in his life, Alexander turned back. In 323 BCE in Babylon, Alexander fell ill after days of fever. The strongest man in the world weakened rapidly. When asked who would inherit his empire, he gave a chilling reply: to the strongest. He died at 32 years old. The empire shattered almost immediately. Generals turned on one another. Wars erupted. The dream of unity died, but Alexander's name did not. Alexander spread Greek culture across 3 continents. He reshaped warfare. He changed history's direction forever. Cities named after him still exist. His strategies are still studied. His legend still burns. He lived fast. He conquered everything, and he vanished before time could claim him. Alexander the Great did not just conquer the world, he conquered history itself. Write in the comments which great historical figure you'd like to see a video on next.